Hello everybody, welcome to another one of my channels where I usually face my choking phobia using exposure and response prevention. Today I'm going to do something a bit different. Today I'm going to just talk about who I am, my life, my backstory. So first, who am I? Well, I don't want to say my name, but it's in my channel name, so that's my name. What do I have? I've been diagnosed with many mental disorders. First, it was social phobia, which is like social anxiety, and cannabis dependence and depression. Then I was prescribed, first I believe it was Zoloft, and then I think Paxil. Eventually I settled on Prozac for a while, and I was basically just with my therapist talking, covered by the government. Then I went to another therapist my dad paid for that was doing more cognitive behavioral therapy, like more exposure-based therapy, exposure and response prevention. So that costs about $70 a session, and we slowly talk about food phobia. That's when I really thought I had OCD. So that's kind of lived with that diagnosis: OCD, social phobia, depression, cannabis dependence. And actually I was diagnosed with OCD before, when I was diagnosed with my other doctor who the government was paying for. But so basically those are the basic disorders I had, like an anxiety disorders, some sort of repetitive, OCD type thing. Then, I lived my life in the Toronto area, and, because before then I didn't really have mental problems too much. Like, I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, and, a lot of my family still lives there, and it's a nice place to visit from time to time. And, eventually I moved from there to Wisconsin in America, a little town called Madison, the capital of Wisconsin, and I lived there. I was basically a latchkey kid. My parents would work most of the time. My mom did stay home a little bit, but for the most of my childhood and young adulthood, my parents both worked, and me and my brother kind of just stayed at home, and, like, who's that comedian, I forget her name, and she's like, yeah, we're latchkey kids. Basically, our parents go home, go to work, and we come home after school, and they come home from work, and hopefully we're alive. Like, basically, yeah, there wasn't much parental guidance in the area until my parents came home. And then they were tired, so they just ate and went to sleep, whatever, right? So then from there we moved to New York, and it was like, we were thinking, okay, we're not going to move anymore. We moved a lot, if you haven't noticed. Even in Wisconsin, we moved a lot within Wisconsin, within the city of Madison. Same with Edmonton. We moved from like my grandparents' house to like this old other house, this university housing. So we moved at least like a dozen times in my life. Me and my brother, my mom, my dad. So one of the things I always noticed when we were growing up, my parents would always fight a lot. We thought it was normal to fight. We honestly thought it was normal that other parents would fight this much. Like, they would fight so much. I remember I was always at the end, especially, the house would be very, very loud, with like mom and dad yelling at each other, and like my mom saying, get dad out of here, like, trying to break them up. It's just, so then what happened was I finished high school. I was going to go to university, and it was around university that kind of the real mental disorders took over. Like, I was struggling with, OCD and everything, and social anxiety. I realized I was a bit shy, but it wasn't until I kind of came out as bisexual to a lot of my friends, I say friends in quotation marks at this point, that I kind of realized I was suffering from some sort of anxiety, because they just stopped talking to me and everything, and it was just really traumatic. So after that, I just stopped talking to a lot of people, kind of, stayed with my boyfriend a lot at the time, and I realized that, crap, like, my parents don't support this, a lot of my friends are not talking to me. Is this the right thing to do? And I just started getting really anxious. So I started going back to school. I was obviously still going to school. I was about to finish first year, I think. And, my parents basically say they're going to divorce. And at the same time, me and relations with my ex-boyfriend kind of soured to the point where, like, I just broke up with him. To think back about it, I think it was just having to be gay and just having to deal with that. It was too much at the time. It was too much a shock to the system. It was just too much to deal with that at that time, to be okay with being gay. Like, I didn't think it was wrong, because I think there's nothing wrong with it. But I didn't realize till later in my culture how bad it is. And even outside of my culture, how bad it is to be this way, apparently. So, I kind of turned my back on, like, I converted to Islam around this time as well. After the breakup with my boyfriend, after my substance abuse, I kind of saw a light at the end of the tunnel. I converted to Islam, started being good and everything. But then those old demons of marijuana brought me back, and I started smoking a lot again. And next thing you know, I'm like cross-dressing, and I'm going out with probably more people than I should. I'm engaging in risky sexual behavior, and I ended up getting sexually abused. It was around this time that I kind of became really confused and not really sure what was going on. Like, I was not really in terms of, I didn't even know. I had trouble sleeping, I had trouble everything. Focusing, concentrating, doing anything. I just couldn't. I was getting really paranoid. So, they took me to the hospital, and basically, my dad thought it was high blood pressure, but I told the nurse it was like, I'm cutting myself. So they kept me overnight, and I talked to the doctor. He basically said I had borderline personality disorder, and this other doctor who I met when I left the hospital, he said I have schizoaffective disorder. So that's a lot of stuff. They put me on Seroquel, which is like, it increased my appetite. It helps with like me being focused, and sometimes I hear things, and it really helps calm my mind and knowing what's real and what's not. But basically, it helps me eat though as well. It helps me eat, it helps me sleep mostly, and the hallucinations, you know, it helps with that sometimes as well. It does help with the hallucinations for sure. I just think that is a lot. It's a really heavy medication to take. So I was doing that. Then it started happening as I dropped out of school and everything, you know. Actually, I dropped out of school before this, during the whole trouble with coming out. And then after the rape and my hospitalization, you know, everything just kind of got better in a way. I was on my medication. I was going to, not work, but I was going to an outpatient thing at the hospital. And I was also, like, kind of going to the mosque as much as I could, like reading at the mosque and praying, being with the people there. It was really a positive environment. I really liked it. And also at this point, though, another stressor happened in my life, which is we moved from Mississauga, it was a suburb of Toronto, to Brampton, which is another suburb of Toronto. And it was at this time that just too much stuff started happening. I had to deal with another move. This is the house we lived in with my parents, and it was, you know, we lived there for like at least, I want to say, a good 7 years, and it was just really stressful to move out. I had to live on my own because the new house we were moving into didn't even have a room for me, and, you know, we finally got moved in, and I decided to go back to school to finish my school. So I went back to school for like a year, but I just couldn't handle it. I just couldn't deal with everything, and I ended up basically spending my OSAP loans on computers and kind of wasting my money. I'm still paying them back now. So after I dropped out of school, I started doing like part-time jobs, like Gino's Pizza or whatever. I was working at the mosque for a bit, not really that much. I was basically doing like pizza delivery, and then we moved to Milton, right? We moved to Milton, I started a pizza delivery job basically. Before that, I was working. Before that, I was just on disability. I got on disability. I got on it for my choking phobia, apparently. Like, the official description was, he's too scared to leave his house, and he'll fear he's going to choke on food, and he has excessive hand washing something. So, basically that happened, and then after Brampton, we moved to Milton, and I started getting on Skip the Dishes. And also around this time that someone really close to me on my mom's side passed on. And I really started, you know, I was doing good, as I explained to you in Brampton. I was doing good going to the mosque. I moved here, and I just kind of fell off the wagon. First, it was doing good. I was volunteering at the mosque, working and stuff. But then I kind of like, once my this person close to me kind of passed on, I realized I wasn't really. I just started smoking a lot of weed. I mean, a lot of weed. I would say like 3 to 5 grams a day, which is a lot. Now I smoke maybe one gram a day, 1.5 grams a day maybe. But I used to smoke a hell of a lot more. You was smoking through a vaporizer, so you couldn't even, like, your lungs wouldn't even get, like, the combustion of the marijuana smoke. This is a cigarette, but, you know, like a joint. You wouldn't even smoke the smoke. It would just be vaporized. It would be combusted at a very high temperature so that just the oil gets out or whatever. Or something like that. And you're basically smoking cannabis raw without burning it. And I smoked a lot of weed, and I was doing a lot of deliveries. I actually got arrested at that time for apparently selling drugs, but I wasn't selling drugs. I swear to God. I literally just went up to this place, which apparently I found out later from a cop is a known drug area. So I dropped my KFC off, and then I go back into my car, and my phone dies, and so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit in this parking lot, charge my phone, wait for another order. I light up a what do you call it, a pipe filled with marijuana. This is before legalization, and a cop pulls me over. A cop basically doesn't pull me over. He comes in, he pulls up behind me and says, basically, what are you doing? And I explained to him, I'm sorry, I'm smoking a bit of marijuana, do we get rid of it? He's like, obviously you want you to get rid of it. And then like next thing you know, I was a belligerent. And he called back up, 2 more cruisers showed up. They didn't have any weed on me, they searched my car, I was crying, they found out I was on Prozac, and they're like, oh, just go take a walk, okay, because you're obviously too inebriated to drive right now. And one thing that really got me, he told me, he's like, you get high when you do deliveries? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you kids, you just wait. With legalization, you still can't smoke it outside. You still can't smoke it outside restaurants. You got to be outside of schools. He was like flipping out on me. Anyway, after all that, I started doing more skip the dishes, right? My job, delivering food. And eventually I became very dehydrated because in my other car, now this car is my new car, I was using my dad's old car. His air conditioning didn't work. And so I was in the summer doing deliveries without air conditioning. So I was drinking a lot of water, but I was also smoking a lot of weed. So I was forgetting how much water I was drinking or how dehydrated I was or how many hours I could work basically. And next thing I knew, I was like vomiting violently after like smoking weed. And it was really bad. I was smoking weed to go to sleep, smoking weed to wake up. I was complaining about pain and the weed's gonna help me. It was BS. I realize now I smoke weed recreationally and medicinally. Like the sativa, it's good for my creativity and whatnot, but in terms of like smoking it regularly, it's never good. You gotta balance it out with your medication, and like you're smoking it because you want to have fun. It's like a beer, okay? You're not smoking it because just purely as a medication, like my Seroquel. I don't smoke, I take it as a pill form. Okay, I don't smoke Seroquel, people. Anyway, so that's happened. After my hospitalization, a brief hospitalization from dehydration, I, got the all clear that I was okay, just take it easy. I kind of got really paranoid with my swallowing, choking phobia again. So I talked to my one of the different psychologists here in my city in Milton, and basically he said, you have BPD, I want you to take some medication. And because basically I told him my hallucinations, he suspended my license. Like he told the Ministry of Transportation or whatever, and they suspended my license. So I had to prove to my family doctor I wasn't as crazy as I was. So I that was the whole thing. I got my license back like just about a month ago. So I'm doing my job again. But for like 4 or 5 months, I had no job, no place to go, no car. My dad didn't trust me. He took my car. He took my license. He's like, I want your keys and everything, right? So he didn't take my license, but he took my car keys. I guess because I took the car one time, I was so bored. I was literally just watching TV all day. I was praying, and a lot, and just trying to stay in like this. Remember I told you before about my rigid order facilitation versus like my let's get high and just relax facilitation. I was hardcore into Islam at that time. And so, by and by, that's how I've been kind of getting on. And then after I got my license back, I thought, I'm going to see a psychologist again maybe. And I don't know if he really wanted to see me again. I'm not sure. I was not really sure. I don't know if he really understood what I was saying. I said I wanted to see him, but he said, oh, after like a couple of weeks I'll see you or something. But it's like I wanted to make an appointment right then and there. Anyway, that's what kind of prompted me to make these videos about my choking phobia. Like, this is basically what I do with my psychologist anyway, right? Just, it's there. I don't videotape it. So this is me now. This is where I live. That's what I do. My diagnoses and what I've done to do it. Basically, that's my video, and I might make. I don't know. I might eat later. I might not eat. I mean, on camera. Because I usually don't make 2 videos a day. I'll see how I feel. Honestly, what my diet is going to consist of is Coke and cigarettes and a little bit of cannabis. Maybe some chips or something. It's not so much I don't want to, as I'm just too lazy. Because again, the thinking positive, not the thinking positive, but doing exposure actually physically takes toll on you. If you guys have noticed. So, that's my life, and right, I'm 32 now. My dad's gonna retire basically next year, and I'm kind of having a freak out because I got off disability just recently. They're only giving me 3 more months, and basically it's only 2 months because one of those months all my bills are going to be paid. I have to pay my credit card off. I have to pay my phone bill. His phone bill's cut off right now. I have to pay $100 to my dad for my car. I have to pay gas, $40 every 2 weeks, and then my internet bill just $80, and YouTube $20, Netflix $20. These things add up. Then I gotta get food, and Coke, cigarettes, occasional weed. Next thing you know, you're paying a lot of money for a lot of things. I survived on $800-900, but it's hard. It's really hard, especially when you gotta pay for your own gas. So that's what I'm doing right now. I don't really have any goals. Like, I just want to save money to kind of get out of debt. I want to pay off my credit card bill. If I can do that, I'll be a bit happier. I'll have more freedom. I could take a trip somewhere, right? I could buy a plane ticket, use my credit card. Like, I've worked really hard. They gave me a credit card. I was busting my butt. They increased the credit limit from 300 to 1,000. I was really proud of myself. I'm like, you know what? I'm going on the right track. I'm paying off my creditors, paying off my loans, paying off my student loans, working. Next thing you know, I got no license, and now it's just a hard adjustment to kind of get back into that. Especially since it's now a huge adjustment of getting off disability. I had a panic attack when that happened. Like two days ago. I just couldn't take it. That day was a horrible day. I think that was the day I didn't eat. If you look back to that video where I didn't eat, it says no ERP today. I didn't eat anything that day. I was so stressed. So stressed out. That's one of the things when you got to realize as I explained in that video, some days you're all prepped to do your ERP, and life just gives you a trip, trips you up. There's nothing you can do. You just have to bear with it and grin with it. Learn your lesson that you have to eat every day, or do your exposures as much as you can. Don't be lazy with them. And then you'll realize these are important things. This is medicine you need to take. It's the same as taking the Seroquel you're taking. It's medicine. Your brain needs to be adjusted to have better attitude, better thoughts, so you can hopefully have better feelings and better actions, and don't participate in avoidance behaviors like I did in that video. So I'm gonna Coke, I'm gonna choke. The caller said it's good to say these thoughts because they have no power once you say them. Right? I'm gonna choke and die. Right? Okay. Once you start saying it and conversing with people about it, you realize it's just not a big deal in society in terms of how society looks at it. They consider choking as a thing. It happens, but you don't think about it every time you eat. And there's general rules of society we kind of live by. So, see what else? Let's see. Common misconceptions about anxiety. Anxiety means you're weak. Anxiety doesn't mean you're weak. Everyone's weak and strong from different times. If I was to go outside right now and go to the mall and just go out and try to talk to someone at Tim Hortons who's taking my order, say my ass today is, maybe sit down, have some nachos with cheese, do an exposure, and then, I don't know, go to work afterwards, do some deliveries, I'd be tired. All right, that doesn't make you weak. Weak is when you know the solution to something and you're too cowardly in a way to do it. Tired is like exertion from you're supposed to get tired from doing things. That means you're doing something. Weak is you're too cowardly to do it in the first place because you think 10 steps down the road, what's the point? I'm not going to find a parking spot. I'm too anxious. I'm going to choke on my food. All these different thoughts come to your head. You're too weak to face them. That's different than tiredness. And the complexity of the human mind does allow for an overlap between tiredness and weakness, where you could be like trying your hardest, but then you just want to like take a break, so you become, beyond tired. You're just like, I can do this, but I'm not going to, and you basically just say, I'm going to use my mental illness as a crutch. That's unhealthy to do, but it's understandable. I'm sure, I've done it. Other people, I'm sure, have done it. I'm not the only one. Some of the things I noticed about anxiety is once you realize, like you talk about it, all these taboos about anxiety become, gone. And you realize that, morality is not just this fixed thing, but it's like subtle shades of gray. Everything is a subtle shade of gray. I know religion's orthodoxy wants us to believe in good and bad. There's no real middle. There's good and there's bad. You know, but end of the day though, humans have our foibles. They are complex, they're inconsistent, they're weak, they're muddled, they're strong, they're brave, they're rich, they're poor, they're pious, they're wicked. And they're everything in between. You know, that's what makes humans humans. So this human experiment of saying, well, this is what we should do, it's right, and everything else is wrong. For example, like homosexuality. You know, I'm a Muslim, and I love being a Muslim, and I try my best to be a good Muslim. Am I somehow less than a person, or somehow a person struggling because of having homosexuality? You know, that's... Homosexuality is not something I, you know, was chose to have. I had no determination to this. I would have struggled whether I was homosexual or heterosexual. I think now in this contemporary time, homosexuality is being celebrated, but recently, in recent memory, you really think about it, it's a tough struggle for the homosexual people, the LGBT people. I'm proud to live in a country that does celebrate it, you know, gay pride and everything, but I'll show you that. Oh, sorry. It says love wins. Sorry, I'm new at camming. Love wins. What I'm saying is... Sorry, hold on. What I'm saying is... there's a subtle shades of gray with one's sexuality. I've heard people blame the media and society, or even the devil. Am I a product of the media, the society, and the devil? God created me. I must have some good in me. God's keeping me breathing. Alhamdulillah. All praise is due to God. He's keeping me breathing. He's allowing me to breathe. So he still wants me to do something, right? In Islamic tradition, we believe the messenger's duty is not done until they've passed on. So if we're still here, we're here to convey a message, the message of Islam and everything, right? So... I hate this appellation of you're gay, so you're struggling, or how it must be so bad. It is bad, no doubt about it. Comes with the territory. Hell, there were times where I thought, I still do think this. I'm not perfect, as I said, about the foibles, even contradictions or weaknesses. I sometimes still think it's okay to just kind of convert to heterosexuality. You know? Because Islam prohibits it, just kind of convert to this way. You like girls, right? You're half gay as it is. You're bi. It's I went to Exorcist one time to kind of help me with all this. I told him about my attraction to guys. He's like, so you're gay? I'm like, no, I'm bi. He's like, oh, so you're still attracted to girls? Just go marry a girl. You know, there's a fundamental misunderstanding between, you could say, the old and the younger generation, or even between the pious and the less practicing people within Islam. Regarding these modern issues, women's rights, terrorism, right? LGBT issues, marijuana. And a lot of people just don't care, they get alienated. I kind of want to care, I want to know the answers. And the answers I've gotten are difficult to wrestle with. Because with my OCPD, which again, it has to do with ordering and listing and numbers and counting and, right? Religion and virtue and self-righteousness and righteous indignation. I get all into my Islam. Next thing I know, I think it's you're gonna go to hell if you become gay. Not if you go you to hell, but it's wrong. It's forbidden. It's against Islam. It's against the holy law. So it's tough. You gotta remember, Islam is a part of your life. It's not your whole life. It's a guiding force, guiding principle in your life, a way to draw you nearer to good, right? But what I mean to say is not but. What I mean to say is, in the same breath, we must consider the damaging effects of religiosity and mass hysteria on the religious phenomenon, and the critique, very genuine critiques that people can, avail themselves of and discuss themselves with people who know, righteous people, about religion and God in general, right? Not God in general, but I mean more how it's practiced, how the religion is practiced, and hypocrisies within it. What else? I'm currently single. I'm not really looking, you know. That's not what YouTube is for. It's a psychological channel. Helps with my depression. This video has gone on longer than I'd like it to, but you know what? I feel like I'm on a roll. So, other questions about anxiety. Is medication always right for you? I've discussed this before. Basically, it's something you talk about with your doctor. You need to feel comfortable. If he's just giving you a medication, you know, talk with him. Tell him, do you think this is good? Should I take less or more? Do your research. He'd usually give you a pamphlet. When I first got my medication, he gave me a pamphlet, a whole Ziploc bag pamphlet. If you have suicidal thoughts, stop taking it. If you have uncontrolled fever, rash, illness, some sort of allergic reaction, stop taking it. Right? Trouble breathing, and you know things like it'll take a couple weeks to kick in, or for Prozac a bit longer, like a month, right? Six weeks, and you know it's. If you don't feel comfortable taking it, you got to have some sort of other action plan in place. I've tried hypnosis. I've tried, you know, religion and meditation and ignoring it, substance abuse. You got to have a plan in place. If you don't have a plan in place, you're gonna go wandering. Like substance abuse, I mean, it's not a plan I recommend. It's from my own history, previous experience. I wouldn't recommend it. Find a licensed counselor. And if you think, you know, chat rooms, for instance, are gonna help you. They're like a secondary thing to help you. They're like workbooks. You first got to talk to the person and go out and go to your local emergency room. If you don't know where to go, the internet is a vast resource in terms of mental health clinics in my area. I know in the GTA we have CAMH. Our hospitals do a good job. So let's not waste the opportunity that we have living in this first world country, where in other countries they don't even talk about mental illness. They talk about like it's demons and it's family honor, and if a person talks to themselves, it somehow makes them mentally ill, and it's a bad thing. No, we gotta talk about it, guys. We gotta talk about it. If we don't talk about it, more and more people will suffer. Nowadays, the younger generation are okay with the sexuality. I know a person close to me on my stepmother's side is very opening to this idea of women's rights and LGBT rights and anxiety. She's kind of rare though. She reminds me of my mom in a way because of her openness. She was like born here, my mom. Even though this person close to me on my stepmom's side was born in Pakistan, she basically was raised here. So I think that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to wrap it up basically. I hope you guys this gives you motivation to do your own exposures and to, you know, vlog your life in a psychological viewpoint and a healthy viewpoint. One more thing I was going to tell you about the marijuana. Don't smoke too much. Especially if you're driving, it's like a beer, guys. If I was to smoke this whole thing, I would not be driving. You pace yourself. It says in the things in the government of Canada, they have little warning signs, rules. It says one of them is start slow or something like start slow and go slow. Right? Start low and go slow in terms of THC content. Don't just think I want to get high, it's going to magically cure my anxiety. I'm not a big believer in that unless you have like cancer or something. Okay, I smoke it because sometimes I get bored. And sometimes my brain gets too order, listless, rules, rigidity. And I find a sativa kind of breaks that all up and makes me more creative. Kind of gives my brain a rest. Alright, guys. Hopefully see you guys tomorrow with another exposure video. This is your guy, Nizam. And remember, you guys can do it. Stay with it.